Shadow work is a powerful process that can truly change your life and transform yourself in ways that you never thought possible. However, even though shadow work is absolutely transformative, there are also some dark sides to it, some dark aspects about this beautiful, powerful work. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about the dark truths of shadow work, the challenges, the emotional overwhelm, and the raw honesty that is really required for this deep inner transformative healing. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about the dark side of shadow work that not everyone really talks about, then stick with me throughout this video because I want to give you a little bit of insights into that. Now here I do want to mention, yes, shadow work has a dark side. There are some challenges when it comes to doing shadow work. However, the outcome, the transformation that comes with shadow work very much outweighs what I'm about to share with you in this video. But I felt called to also share this with you so you can be aware of the impact, the effect that shadow work can have on your life, especially if you don't necessarily know how to really go about shadow work. It can be quite challenging if maybe you don't have the support to really embrace this journey. But still, shadow work is absolutely transformative and a beautiful practice for deep inner transformation. But let's talk about those deep, dark truths of shadow work. First of all, is that you may have that initial resistance to doing this work because when it comes to shadow work, you have to go deep. You have to uncover aspects of yourself that you may not necessarily like, that you may feel even ashamed of, that you may not even want to deal with or touch or even just acknowledge. There may be even some fears around, ooh, I gotta do shadow work? That sounds quite scary. So there might be that initial fear around actually doing this work because, shadow work in itself doesn't sound very appealing, right? It kind of hints that this requires some deep inner healing, some deep work, that there might be some initial resistance around that. Or many then also have somewhat of a denial that, oh, I don't need shadow work. I'm okay. I'm good. But here I just want you to know is that every single person, every single living soul has shadow aspects that negatively impact them in their life. So every single person can highly benefit from shadow work. But there's that initial resistance often of doing this kind of work, embracing this work, or just really just stepping into doing this work. Then another aspect is that when it comes to shadow work, yes, it can be quite emotionally painful because as you're then really diving deep, you may have to uncover those past traumatic events, the suppressed emotions. And that can bring up intense feelings of sadness, of overwhelm, of anger, and even guilt. Because as you're really uncovering those things, and especially like when it comes to, let's say, really diving into trauma, that can also cause a lot of emotional pain. And here I just want you to know is that when you do shadow work the right way, and here I have a video that I want to invite you to watch. It's about 6 steps of how to heal the shadow. The link is in the description below where I will outline a process that doesn't have to be painful. Because shadow work only gets really painful when you're really diving into the story of things. The story never matters, but when you're connecting with the emotion, the feeling, and you're feeling it with the intention of healing and releasing it, yes, it's still going to be emotionally challenging and overwhelming, and it can be a little painful, but only during the time when you're really doing this work. And as you're then transcending it, as you're then healing it, as you're then clearing it, it won't be as challenging or emotionally painful. So definitely check out that link in the description below about the 6 steps of how to heal the shadow, where I really outline an easy, simple process that can make this work less painful. But usually there is emotional pain involved when it comes to shadow work because you are touching certain things that you have buried for quite some time, that you haven't really touched, you haven't really looked at, you have just kind of put aside, maybe even put it in Pandora's box and just kind of locked it away, right? So shadow work can be quite emotionally painful if you're really, diving deep into the aspects of your shadow. Then another aspect is that, you have to confront those negative traits. And that is rarely comfortable because quite honestly, when it comes to doing this inner work, you have to take full responsibility over your shadows, over your experiences and everything. You have to be brutally honest with yourself, without judgment though, without being harsh on yourself, without anger towards yourself. Because like I said, we all have shadow aspects. Every single person has shadow aspects. And it's when you're really then being honest with yourself, like, yes, I have those shadow aspects, it makes it actually easier. But confronting those negative traits can be quite challenging as well, because you have to actually acknowledge that there are certain things about yourself that you don't like, that you may even feel guilty about or even ashamed about, or maybe that you even hate. And you may not even deal with that inner conflict of self-judgment. That's why never to judge yourself when you do shadow work. But if you're not aware of it, and it's easy to start judging yourself for why you did certain things, why you're experiencing those things, why did you embody the shadow aspect and all of those different things, right? But it's about not doing that, really doing shadow work from an open heart and an open mind, really being gentle with yourself. But confronting those negative traits can also be quite challenging when it comes to doing shadow work. And diving into shadow work can also disrupt your daily life. Because as you're really diving deeper into the shadow aspects, well, you're feeling all these things. You may then easily become triggered. You may even become very emotional and stressed out. And you have all these inner emotions that you're dealing with, which then can cause problems in your day-to-day life. It can cause problems with your loved ones, with your family, with friends, even at work. That can also cause you to feel like you need to isolate yourself and really kind of take a step back, really disconnect from life, from society, until you're really done dealing with whatever you're experiencing. So shadow work can have a negative impact on your life because it can be disruptive to your day-to-day routine, your daily life. And another aspect is that shadow work actually is quite a slow progress, and it's a continuous progress. It's not something that, okay, I'm going to take a week and I'm just going to dive into shadow work and then I'm done. Doesn't work that way. What I have found is that, yes, in the beginning, especially when you're first starting your spiritual awakening journey and you have a lot of stuff to heal, a lot of stuff to uncover, that's usually when you have a lot of those negative experiences, because you're really diving deep into the trenches. And usually when you're awakening, a lot of stuff keeps coming up anyways. It kind of keeps smacking you in the face, like, look at me, I'm here, it's something that you need to deal with, kind of, right? So in the beginning, I have found that shadow work is really more intense, but that's why shadow work is meant to be an ongoing process where you maybe do some shadow work on a day-to-day basis, because when you do shadow work on a day-to-day basis, or as things are coming up, as you're feeling triggered, as your shadow is being poked and you're like tuning in, like, okay, what am I feeling? What's going on here? And then you're working through it. Then shadow work doesn't have to be challenging and painful. Yes, in the beginning when you're first starting out and you're uncovering all these things, yes, that's usually when things become very challenging and very overwhelming and very painful in a way too, because you're really diving deep into everything. But it's usually a slow progress, because when it comes to shadow work, you have to take responsibility. You have to acknowledge all these things that you may not quite like about yourself, or that you're experiencing these things. And it's also taking responsibility, like, yeah, it's because of those shadow aspects that my life turned out the way it did. It's like taking full responsibility over your life, over your experiences, and it's not always easy. That also caused a lot of emotional upheaval and challenges and overwhelm and denial and resistance and all of those stuff. So shadow work is quite a slow progress, especially if you don't have the support, if you don't have the guidance to really do this beautiful work. And here I just want to invite you, if you are on this journey and you would like some help, I want to invite you to check out my membership Transcendence. The doors will open on September the 2nd. The link is in the description below, where it's all about doing this beautiful inner work, to transcending yourself into a higher way of being, a higher way of showing up, really raising in consciousness. Basically what my channel is all about is then kind of continues in the membership on a deeply supportive way. So if that is of interest to you, because there are weekly coaching calls to get the support that you need, and there's a monthly workshops. There's a lot in that membership that can really assist you on a deeper level to get the support that you need to really embrace shadow work, embrace your spiritual journey, embrace that transcending into a higher way of being. So if that's of interest to you, if you want to check it out, definitely check out the link in the description below, and then either join the waiting list, depending on when you're watching this, or if it's after September the 2nd, then you can also join the membership to really receive the support that that you need on this journey. I would be honored if you were to join me in Transcendence. But going back now to the topic here, just know that shadow work can be a slow progress that can also be a little overwhelming and frustrating because you're doing all this work, you're doing all this inner work, and you're like, man, I'm still not further along. Why am I not seeing the progress? Why am I not seeing the shifts and changes? I just went through the trenches of all that inner healing and discovering and everything, so why is my life still the way it is? When it comes to shadow work, the changes are quite subtle. You may not quite notice them because it's not like right in your face, like, hey, my life has changed right now. It's happened subtly, where you don't notice that maybe you're showing up differently. You may be feeling differently. Maybe those small things starting to shift and change. And oftentimes, as humans, we want to see like the immediate progress, the immediate results of the hard work that we did. And with shadow work, it doesn't usually happen that way. Yes, there can be instances where you see shifts happening quite quickly, but oftentimes still it is quite of a slower progress, which can be quite frustrating, especially if you're really in this, you want to make the changes, you feel like that this is something you need to do, and you're doing the hard work, and the progress is just very slow or barely noticeable. So that's another dark side of shadow work, that it is quite a slow progress. And finally it's that it's also quite lonely. You may experience that loneliness because as you're going through all these shifts and changes and emotional ups and downs and stuff, and you feel like you need to isolate yourself, you kind of, pull away. You may not even have the support from your family because maybe they're thinking that you're totally bananas for doing this kind of work. Maybe they don't understand what you're actually doing, and they're wondering, well, why are you doing this to yourself? Then you may really feel called like you kind of need to pull away. You kind of stay to yourself, and that can cause that loneliness because a lot of people, especially those that are not on this path, they simply don't understand. They don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand why you're doing this. It just doesn't make sense to them, right? But if you know that this is what I need, because like I mentioned in the beginning, all these downsides, the dark side of shadow work, makes it well worth it once you come out on the other side, because the transformation that you will experience because of it makes it well worth it. Because for one, you will uncover more about who you are. You will uncover your authentic self, the self of you that is buried deep beneath all the shadow aspects. Because when we're talking shadow aspects, think of an iceberg. You have that piece on top, and then you have a much bigger piece below the surface. And that's shadow aspects. You have that big piece below the surface, those shadow aspects. They're there whether you want to or not, whether you're aware of them or not, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. They are there. And by you doing shadow work, you're basically chipping away on that big piece underneath the surface to really free yourself. You then become aware more about who you really are. You get to discover yourself more. You learn more about yourself. You actually step into your most authentic self. And it is deeply transformative. So I just wanted to share these dark sides of shadow work so you're aware of it. But I also want to mention how important it is to do this work and how much your life can transform and change. Ever since I started with shadow work, yes, I had to go into the trenches. I had to uncover a lot that wasn't always comfortable. I often had those emotional kind of breakdowns as well, especially in the beginning when I uncovered certain things and I was like, why was I experiencing things? And then when I really dove deeper into really leading into the shadow aspects, and I'm like, okay, now it makes sense why my life has been the way it has. Why I experienced certain things is because of those shadow aspects. So yes, in the moment I'm like, wow, that was a big damper, but then I really took the gift from that and I'm like, okay, well, now that I know this, now let's change this, let's heal this, let's clear this, let's transform this, let's transcend this. And I've been really diving deep into my shadow aspects, and my life has not been the same ever since. I now experience more abundance, more financial abundance, more time abundance. I have the abundance in ideas, in the projects I'm doing, and just, how I show up in the world, the clients that I'm working with. There's just a deeper bond now with my clients. And it's because I have healed a lot. I had a lot of heart healing to do as well because of the experience I've had. So shadow work is truly a powerful process, and the outcome and the transformation definitely outweighs the challenges and the discomfort of shadow work. So I hope this was enlightening to you, and I didn't mean for this video to kind of frighten you or scare you away from shadow work, because it is truly, I'm a big advocate for shadow work because I have seen it within myself, the changes that happen when you really dive deep into shadow work. I've seen it with my clients once we're really diving deeper into those aspects and healing it and clearing it, how it transforms their life. So I didn't mean to talk you out of starting with shadow work. No, I'm a big advocate for it, and I really want to invite you, if you haven't done shadow work, dive into it. Check out the video in the description below, the 6 steps of how to do shadow work. Browse through my channel because there are a lot of topics around shadow work to really give you the tools, the techniques, the strategies, the how-to, the support of doing shadow work for yourself to transform your life, to really transcend into a higher way of being. And like I mentioned, if you need some more additional support, join me in Transcendence, where I can give you support on a weekly basis, and even the workshops that we have once a month to really help you on this journey of really transcending yourself and really transcending your shadow aspects, because it's going to transform your life in ways you never thought possible. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe hit the like button, maybe leave me a comment below. Let me know, how do you feel about this? Have you done shadow work before? Are you already doing shadow work, and have you experienced any of those dark sides of shadow work? I would love to know. Leave me a comment below, let me know. While you're at it, if you haven't done so already, definitely subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I release new videos. But I just want to say thank you for allowing me to bring this to you. Now also be sure to check out these 2 videos here. One is about the 6 steps of how to heal your shadow self, and another one about the 5 misconceptions about shadow work, so you can get some more insights into that. So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, make an amazingly abundant and joyful day. Namaste.